I think I'm more concerned about the gaming industry right now than I've ever been concerned about the gaming industry. The last time I was really concerned about the gaming industry was when I was watching the investment go into esports. And my feeling was that, particularly because of Activision, I think they're the main like progenitors of this, the main people behind it. There's so much investment going into esports right now, and there's no possibility that these teams can get any kind of positive return on investment for the amounts of tens of millions of dollars that they're spending. I was like, damn, this might be a bubble. This might be a bubble, and this might explode, and it might just be terrible. And then I made a bunch of YouTube videos about it, and I kind of felt better. I talked about like the esports bubble and everything, and we need to talk about the esports bubble. I made this video a year ago, and it's done fairly well. And now, like, I'm actually even more worried about the industry than I was back then, but for a different reason. So when I say gaming industry, I actually mean the whole industry, which is kind of crazy, because when I was worried about esports, I was just worried about esports. But right now, I'm worried about the entire gaming industry, and I'll try to explain to you why. The first thing to understand about the gaming industry is how it's monetized, okay? So how do game industry make money? That's not a sentence, but I don't care. So the first way is game sales, right? But all this money goes to publishers. So generally game sales, you can almost take it off the list because very few people actually benefit from this. It's like the developers and the publishers are the only people that benefit off of the game sales, okay? So the entirety of game sales, the entirety of the game industry after this, after you take game sales out of it, the entirety of the gaming industry is propped up by advertising and sponsorships. Literally everything. All of esports, all of the gaming industry, all of Twitch, all of YouTube, everything. Everything is sponsorships. Everything is advertisers. Everything is CPM. We've explained CPM a couple of times, right? It's cost per 1,000 views, and it's dictated by the demand that people have for certain products and services. Advertising and sponsorships are 100% of the way that get propped up in the game industry. Everything else is and people are going to say, well, what about t-shirt sales and merch and stuff? It's completely irrelevant. When you look at the numbers, like let's draw a pie chart. It's going to be like game sales, like advertising sponsorships, and then like teensy, weensy, eensy, beensy, little bitty, like merch sales, okay, of like an esports team or something like that. It just doesn't register. Advertising and sponsorships are the entire, like the way that anything is going to be propped up, okay? So when you think about things that way, you start to realize that our entire industry, especially right now, is more or less based on the perception that brands and advertisers have of our industry. And that is particularly relevant because our industry is new. So, what makes somebody want to advertise with somebody else? In the case of influencer marketing, they have to think that that influencer is going to represent their product and going to be able to sell it, right? In the case of an esports team or of the gaming industry or a Twitch streamer or anything like that, it's the same thing. You have to think that that person is going to, A, represent your brand really well, right? B, sell a ton of copies of the thing you're trying to do, and C, get you positive exposure, okay? And these things need to click, because if they don't, there are a lot of other places that companies can advertise. So there's everything from traditional, which is like billboards, news, media, papers, flyers, whatever, right? There's there's affiliate, right? Which is like ClickBank and like affiliate links and stuff like that. There's also other digital competition, right? Which has like Google ad networks and stuff like that, which is one of the biggest competitions for Twitch streamers and things like that. Or there's just like, there's other digital competition, like forums and things like that. There's tons and tons of things. So advertisers and brands have no, what's the word? Loyalty to advertising on a platform like Twitch. They can advertise a million different places. They don't have to spend their money with Twitch. They don't have to spend their money with YouTube. There's a lot of choices for where you can advertise. And since we're a new industry in terms of ad sales and in terms of sponsorships, every single thing that we do as an industry kind of builds the profile of what type of industry we are. So if you look at an industry like the pornography industry, pornography is cemented as a very certain type of industry, okay? You can advertise certain things there. You can't advertise other things, okay? If I want to sell my 12-inch Dragon Dildo Robotic Fuckmaster 3000, then that might be a great place where I can get some CPM rates on Pornhub. But if I want to sell a brand of luxury hairbrushes, right? Maybe or luxury shampoos or something, maybe not the best place to advertise. That's because it's not that luxury shampoo wouldn't sell well with Pornhub CPM advertising. Surprisingly, it probably would, and it would probably sell well for cheaper. And there's been some history of campaigns. If you ever want to watch, if you ever want to look at a really interesting campaign, you can look at the Eat24 study from Digital Trends, which did a really fascinating study on by Eat24. And they did these advertisements like BLT with your BDSM, get it delivered. They literally advertised Eat24 on Pornhub. They did it for a fraction of the cost because nobody buys ads on Pornhub at these rates. And it was an incredibly successful campaign, one of the most successful digital media campaigns of all time. So the idea of me explaining this, right, is there are ways to advertise in unique ways that people don't think of, but most people don't do this because they get an idea of a certain thing that you wouldn't advertise with that. So the vast majority of advertisers leave it alone, even if it might be effective, just because of the brand impact it could potentially have. And indeed, because of this reason, there are very few brands comparatively that advertise with Pornhub, right? Like REI could do a campaign with Pornhub and be like, yo, how cool is it to fuck in a tent? Like, I don't know. Like they could do something, right? They're not going to do it because of the potential brand impact. So that whole thing kind of paints the picture of how precarious our position in the gaming industry is right now. That if the gaming industry gets branded as this place where there's all these allegations going on, where like people are radioactive, people are toxic, people are saying crazy stuff, that's scary, right? Because the result is that the gaming industry gets branded as kind of like a radioactive place to advertise, and it literally gets to like pornography tier levels of advertising that the only people that will advertise with it are those kind of brands. And any esports team owner can tell you how many times they've been approached by gambling websites for huge amounts of money, by weird mobile games for like click-throughs and stuff like that. And I worry that we have just seen the biggest upset in the gaming industry in the history of the gaming industry. Agencies have folded overnight. Influencers are out on their ass. People are going on stream and doing these weird streams of consciousness where they release DMs and like it's on Twitter and it's everywhere. It's like, oh my God, just imagine you're a business owner right now. Imagine that like you've been cultivating a brand that you have to protect for 20 or 30 years. Are you going to be a person that advertises here? Like, are you going to risk that? It would be crazy for you to do that, right? Like, why would you risk your entire business going into the gaming industry when you can get sales anywhere else? And so, like, I'm worried that the only thing that the gaming industry is going to be propping up is, like, CSGO gambling skin websites and fucking weed sponsorships. Like, it really legitimately concerns me. I don't know where we go from here. It's really scary because, like, we've reached a point where the gaming industry is going to be so radioactive for the next, like, 6 to 12 months that I'm not sure what happens on a brand level. I don't know anyone that would, like, legitimately advertise with us. And the only thing that I could hope is that some brands see that not all influencers are created equal. So, like, for every crazy influencer that's out there, like, doing some fucking whack shit, there's a few sane influencers that are not doing that. And it's like, I'm hopeful that they realize that. The problem is that it takes a huge amount of education on behalf of the brand to understand that not all influencers are created equal, and not Twitch isn't just like, because if you don't know what Twitch is, you think about it like it's a blob. You think about it like it's just like it's a thing. You don't think of it as like a series of separate influencers who all have their own separate platform. You don't have enough context to know that. And so you just pass off Twitch entirely. You're just like, no, we're not going to even do that. Well, that's really spooky because like then people just pass up the opportunity and none of the influencers get money. And the translation, like what ends up happening, esports teams don't make as much revenue, implying they make revenue right now, LOL. Streamers don't make as much money. The CPMs go down on Twitch because they're forced to. The amount of sponsorship deals and revenue goes down. Agencies go down because they can't find deals, or they have to do more education to get those deals. So the tail of the deal close is longer. And there you go. Like the kind of whole industry sort of kind of like cycles in of it on itself, and then everything sort of collapses into its own asshole. And I guess I just see this as like a very likely outcome as a result of like where we're at. And I'm pretty worried that that's going to be the case. I don't at this moment see a different outcome. So you'll see me on Twitter doing my thing where a lot of the time I'm like, we need to be better as a gaming industry. And when I say that, it's like, what do I mean by that? Because immediately I get this like pushback where people are like, why should we be professional? We should just go back to saying things on Xbox Live and Call of Duty. And it's like, hold on, right? Like, I'm not saying we can't, there's no fun allowed, that I'm like the no fun allowed robot. I'm saying that like, if we don't start taking us seriously, if we don't take ourselves seriously, nobody else will take us seriously either, right? And it's like, you can go to the circus and watch a clown, and the clown will get some viewership as they like fart into a microphone really loudly, or you pile up 8 of them out of a car, okay? But no one's going to go to that clown and trust them with a $5 million, $100 million sponsorship, okay? Like, that's the problem, right? It's like, if we want to be taken seriously as an industry and give more options to have more creators, to introduce more people to streaming, to make it possible for more people to stream, to make it possible for more people to live their dream as a gaming content creator or an esports player, to make more teams and brands and agencies viable. If we want to grow this space, we have to take ourselves seriously. If we don't, no one else will do it either. And as a result, there'll be no money. And if there's no money, world don't go around. No tiki, no washi. That's how it is, right? That's the way the world works. And it's like, you may not like it, but that's the case. So I wish, like, every time I see one of these Twitter food fights, or I see Sky going nuts on his stream, or I see like a big thing like this, I'm just like, here we are again, right? And every single one of those is another brand, which you never see, by the way, right? Like, none of you in chat will ever see this, but it happens to me all the time, right? Like, it happens to me all the time, where it's like another brand shakes their head at me and is like, oh, sorry, too radioactive. Maybe we'll be back later. And like, I think that the gaming industry, the way that it gets around this is like, we keep up the authentic stuff, right? And like, we keep being authentic to ourselves. We can go a little bit hard. We can trash talk. We can do that stuff. But when it comes down to really serious stuff, like the stories that are being told on Twitter right now, we take the real sign of a professional. People misunderstand me. I even see it in chat right now. Like, you just sound like an executive that's like telling people not to have fun. Like, no, like, right? You missed the point. That's not what I'm talking about right now. That's not what I'm saying. That's not the sign of a professional. A professional is someone that trash talks, has fun, gets after people, whatever. But when it's time to address a very serious issue, you see them switch and they go disco serious, right? Like, Navy SEALs can joke around, give each other a bunch of shit, hang out, whatever, play loud music. When it's time for an operation, they're on it, right? They're 100% on. They're sticked. They're there. They're locked in, right? That's a professional. In the same way, our professionals don't freak out and don't start spurging when there is serious stuff to be had, and when we're dealing with issues that impact the entire industry. They handle it professionally. They make statements. They work with people. They lock in. They acknowledge the importance of believing people that tell stories. They acknowledge like what is happening in the industry and why it matters. They make intelligent commentary to that end. They inspire people in the right direction. And then they go back, and then when shit's good, they go back to trash talking, whatever, hanging out. That's a professional. We don't have many of those in the industry right now. A very good example, people were saying it in chat, and I completely agree with you. A good example of this is Asmongold. You want to look at like, because I agree, I'm not saying that I'm an avatar of this, right? I'm way too much on the serious side. Like I don't know how to like lighten up, right? And that makes me like kind of like a stickler. Asmongold is like the perfect example of this, right? Like Asmon, he will go super memey and just like spaz out and like meme at people and burn people. But when it comes time for a serious discussion, Asmon locks in and he becomes the representative that we need. That's the kind of people that we need more of, right? No one would accuse Asmon of a person who like doesn't like fun or like a stuck-up executive. None of you would say that. And yet he can get super real and make a YouTube video about why this stuff matters. And then go right back to freaking evaluating transmogs in World of Warcraft. That's what we need more of in the industry. We just need more people to aspire to that. And also, it's like the responsibility isn't just on people in the gaming industry. It's also you guys, right? It's every viewer that decides that when we are going to take something seriously, we're gonna put on our serious hat and we're gonna actually talk about the issues that matter and we're gonna try to fix them. I think every single individual has a part to play in that as well. And then together, we build a better industry. But I've just seen the opposite happen to such a degree that I know brands are going to be super radioactive going forward in the esports industry, maybe for years. And that just worries me. That concerns me. People, you don't want to get stuck in the idea that it's like, oh, this like drama for views stuff is like really good. It's not, right? The drama for views stuff is not good. It's like it seems like it's fun for all this drama to go back and forth and for you to feed that demon in you. But what ends up happening is it's bad for everyone. It hurts a lot of people. It hurts the industry itself. It also hurts the people involved. It's just not good. What do you think the breakthrough moment will be in the gaming industry? Is it in comparison with more mainstream media? Well, mainstream media has avoided this largely because it's controlled. And I don't think we want a world. I don't know. This is like a really hard question. I don't know if we want a world that's more draconian than this one. If Twitch or YouTube were to like take up the sword and say, you guys have to make this kind of content this way and respond to things like this. But if I had any kind of serious answer, and this is going to be like people are going to be like Monka S, oh my God, he is becoming self-aware. I think that agencies need to become way bigger. There needs to be way more representation in this space. That's part of it, right? Because if way more streamers are represented by agencies, they have just coming from a person that helps dozens of streamers like every week on random issues from contracts to disagreements to just normal business information. Having a little business person in your pocket that you can take out and be like, here's my business guy, like, hey, what do you think about this, right, is really beneficial. And I think when we start to see more serious representation of broadcasters, this starts to pick up better. That's part of it. I don't know how we get there as an industry, but it's kind of happening, though still, even the vast majority of pretty large-scale influencers aren't represented, which sucks. As much as everyone always says we should create a streamer union, I never see that as an outcome, because I think that streamers don't have enough resilience to stick with it. I think what happens to a streamer union is the first company that really knows their shit goes in. Here's what happens to weak unions, okay? I could tell you because I have personal experience with this. Because there's been a lot of attempts to make an esports union in the past to try to fight against publishers. Here's what happens every time. Group of teams get together. They decide to make a union. They get pretty far. The publisher gets a little bit worried. They send in one of their top negotiators. the top negotiator separates each person or each team and negotiates with them individually and says, hey, come with us or we shut you down. And then immediately they capitulate. And that's how I know a streamer union won't work. Because at the end of the day, all of these broadcasters, most of these broadcasters are very, very self-oriented or self-invested. And as soon as Twitch comes in, and believe me, they have them, with like their Amazon level pipe-hitting motherfucker who is like negotiated $200 million deals for Fortune 500s and comes in and says, look, totally cool, you can be a part of this union. Sounds good. Yeah, we're just cool with you not being on the platform. They'll break. Instantly, they'll break, and then no more union. And that's all it takes. They don't have the resilience. For them to do it, every single person in that large streaming part of that union, they have to think that what they're fighting for is more important than their personal brand, their income, and whatever. And you can't get a bunch of 22-year-old, 25-year-old people to do that. It's just not going to happen. So that's combined with the fact that the streamer union would have to have a very strong leadership and very strong representation that can keep all those people in line, and nobody exists like that. Nobody has the power to negotiate with Twitch. Nobody knows enough. Nobody has the interest, right? Everybody is sort of like fighting for their own scraps at the table. And nobody is going to band together. Like, this idea of a streaming union is just fantastical, right? Like, no one's going to band together. And as soon as they do, it's so easy to break down those walls. Because most streamers are self-invested. You're describing basic selfishness on the internet. It's a larger human issue. To some extent, but no. It has to do with how the platform is set up. Every streamer is their own separate island. I'm twitch.tv/Devin Nash, right? So I can do collaborations with other broadcasters and they can do collaborations with me. But make no mistake, we're in competition for views, right? If there's another streamer live right now, then you have a choice between watching that person or watching me. And that's just the reality of it. It's a dog-eat-dog world, right? That's not the case on a platform like YouTube, which is why, holy moly, dude, oh man, I'm getting pumped because this is the talk. That's why you saw MCNs happen on YouTube. MCNs became possible because there isn't a direct line of competition between YouTubers. If you watch a video, you can go watch another video. You can watch multiple videos in the same day. You can and like most people will jump around videos and they'll watch like 4 or 5 different content creators in a day. You could easily do that, right? But that's not the case on Twitch. Twitch has a very, very high uptick on the amount of time that you spend watching a single streamer. The average person watches a streamer on Twitch for 109 minutes. That's not much more. That's not a 5-minute YouTube video. That's not a 20-minute YouTube video. That's 109 minutes, right? So you don't have a lot of time to go watch a streamer. An MCN stands for a multi-channel network. So what MCNs were on Twitch, MCNs are these groups like Machinima, for example. People are saying in chat. That's right. Groups of hundreds of YouTubers who can collectively bargain against YouTube. And the reason that happened is because YouTubers are not in direct competition with each other. But Twitch streamers, and I think a lot of people don't understand this, like Twitch streamers are in direct competition with each other. Direct. Because you cannot watch, very few people do, watch 2 streams at a time. So if you're watching one stream, you're not watching another stream. And the amount of time that people are watching Twitch is very long. So for that reason, you're in direct competition. And so if a company knows that, all they need to do is take, I don't know, say 100 of the top influencers, and they all decide to band together into a stream. Okay? And I'm the CEO of Twitch. I'm not saying they'll do this, by the way. I'm not making any allegations or anything. I'm just saying, if I was the CEO of Twitch and I was lawful evil, right? And I'm sitting at my desk and I'm chilling, playing Path of Exile because I don't do any real work. And then somebody comes into my office and says, "Sir, 100 streamers have band together. They're saying that if we don't pay them more, they'll leave the platform." I go, very interesting. Okay, separate each of the streamers in groups of 5. Go have our AMs go after them, and then tell each of them, "You're welcome to join this union. If you do, we kick you off the platform, go to YouTube." What happens? Maybe you get 1 to 2% of them that are idealists, and they're like, "Yeah," and then they leave. Every other streamer breaks. But if even a small link in that chain breaks, like a Soda Poppin' or like an Asmon or something, it's all over. And they do that because they're in direct competition with each other. So a streaming platform can never leverage against Twitch. And this is the same reason that it was the same with the esports. It was the same with esports, right? Esports was the same thing. You have 10 teams in a franchise. You have you have them try to start a union. Hey, this is unfair. The publisher isn't taking care of us. They're not paying our players enough. They're not paying us enough. They're taking a huge percentage of the revenue. They get 100% of the game sales. They get 100% of the MTX. This is bullshit. The teams make no money. What the fuck? You know what we should do? We should start a collective union where we fight, right? Wow, has anyone ever had this idea before? Okay. So then what happens? Well, the 10 teams march up to the door of the publisher. They say, we won't take it anymore. We want change, more money, give us more stuff. And the publisher goes, oh, okay, wow. Yeah, just give us a couple of days and we'll definitely talk to you. And then they're like, okay, we'll wait. And then the publisher goes, hey, what's up, Cloud9? Dude. Would be a shame if you're never in the LCS again because you're in this union. And then Cloud9 is like, holy shit! And then they're fucking out of there, right? And bam, it's over, right? And that will happen every single time. And because there's 10 teams, if one breaks the chain, it's over. So no esports unions either, right? Publisher controls everything, dude. They control the game. They control the IP. They control the revenue. They control the sponsors. They control everything. The only thing you get as a team, you have your little bowl, and you're sitting there, please, I'm so hungry. Double Lift hasn't eaten for 4 days. Please, a little bit of food? Please? And the publisher's like, perhaps, yes, I'm in a good mood today. Star Guardian Lux has sold $40 million. Here is $5. Don't spend it all in one place, my lad. Now, off with ye. I have to go back to thinking about my next MTX, right? That's what they're doing. There's no leverage. There's no leverage. No one in esports has any leverage, and no one on Twitch has any leverage. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and the publisher controls everything, and we're all fucked. And that's why I'm worried about the gaming industry. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It's just like, it's just how it is. I mean, like, how it is. Old man yells at notepad. Like, subscribe, donate, follow. Click the cycle. Infinite follows. More. Thank you. Appreciate. Big YouTube. Lots of follow. Much wow. Thank you.